To me, the show is not just about the Bridgertons. It is about a world, and it is about an entire society. And we have an array of characters and an array of stories to tell.
I love her, her gossipy, like newspaper, society, how she kind of spread through society like wildfire sort of thing. What was the pitch? What did you tell Julie Andrews about Lady Whistledown?
Well, she was, in a lot of ways, she is our one woman Regency tabloid of the time, and really, her role, we're exploring the power of the written word through Lady Whistledown. We're seeing how she changes public opinion, how she shapes public opinion, much like, modern day tabloids and social media do today.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we have another clip featuring Queen Charlotte.
Her Majesty requires an audience.
With me now?
Who is she?
Your Majesty.
Whistledown, I tasked you with unmasking the scandalmonger.
Believe me, I am intent on locating her, and I'm angry at myself for having not yet uncovered her identity. But I was thinking...
Clearly not fast enough. My patience has limits. Get me an answer. Your queen commands it.
Of course. Your Majesty.
Chris, talk about the inclusion of Queen Charlotte and why it was important to have her a part of this, particularly giving her history and background.
Yeah.
Especially right now with everything that's going on with the actual royal family.
Yeah, I would say Bridgerton, it has always been a show for a modern audience, and the themes and the stories and the characters themselves, there's a modernity to everything we're doing. Everything on the show is kind of infused through a contemporary lens and has a contemporary sensibility. And I think with, it's a reimagined world, the world of Bridgerton. It's not a history lesson and we're not a documentary. And I think our approach to race on the show is an example of that. In speaking with many historians and actually collaborating hand in hand with the cast, I learned of this, this idea that Queen Charlotte was England's first queen of mixed race. And that's something that a lot of historians believe there's evidence for today. And it's something that really resonated with me. It struck me because it made me wonder, what could that have looked like? If that were true, what would have happened? Could she have elevated other people of color in society and granted them titles and lands and dukedoms? And I think that is where, the Simon Bassett of the series, our Duke of Hastings, that's the idea beneath him. It's this whole idea of marrying history and fantasy again in a really interesting, exciting way.
Chris, can you talk? So, obviously we've got the Bridgertons, who are one family, and then there's the Featheringtons. Can you talk about that family and, how you wanted? They're kind of like the perfect juxtaposition. They're new money. So talk about like how you wanted to portray them in contrast to like the very classy Bridgertons.
It's interesting. Yeah, I always refer to Bridgertons as this family of harmony, and the Featheringtons are kind of the discord, and there is, a very clear distinction between the two families. The Bridgertons are full of love and warmth, and even, the shooting style, whenever we're with the Bridgertons and inside the Bridgerton home, there's a lot of movement and things are lively, and we're really capturing that spirit of the Bridgertons. But then the Featheringtons, by contrast, there's not as much love in that home, and things are a little colder. And so the shooting style again there, when we're with them, it's a lot more still and a little stilted. I wanted to show both sides and really show those differences, because to me the show is is not just about the Bridgertons. It is about a world, and it is about an entire society. And we have an array of characters and an array of stories to tell.
Yeah. And Chris Bowers has done such an incredible job of that score, which we're, hearing a bit of in some of the clips. He's based in LA. Talk about working with him remotely and getting that score together.
He's been incredible. Chris has been amazing. We were able to work, due to the pandemic, we were able to work together remotely and virtually. A lot of times this kind of set up via Zoom and Google Hangouts. And we really, he was able to record the orchestra remotely. I believe all the musicians were separate and able to, do their own thing. And the sound of Bridgerton is, it's youthful and it's energetic and it's lively. Like everything on the show, we're very much rooted in the time of the Regency, but again, there's a twist to everything, and the volume is turned up on everything, and that goes for the music to the editing to the characters and the stories of the show.
Adjoa, Lady Davenport is everything, and you play her with such a flourish that is Lady Danbury, excuse me, is everything, and you play her with such a flourish that is fun to watch. Talk about your preparation for the role, and particularly playing a woman who is in leadership as a woman of color.
Okay, so when we were filming, as you know, we filmed in the most terrific locations all around the country. And one of the places we filmed was at Badminton House. This is in Gloucestershire, in the country. It's the Duke of Beaufort's home. The Beaufort Hunt is one of the most prestigious in the country. The Badminton Horse Trials is one of the social events of the season. So badminton is a big deal. It's also about 6 miles from where I grew up. There were 3 black people in about a 50-mile radius. There was me, my dad, and my brother. And when we were filming at Badminton House, there's this scene. Lady Danbury invites Daphne to a sort of a women's soiree where there's gambling and drinking and just women being fabulous together. And we filmed this at Badminton House. So this is somewhere, I used to go to the Badminton Horse Trials. I loved horses when I was a kid. I used to ride all the time. And in the big hall where we were filming, there's this gorgeous painting of Queen Charlotte. And I had a moment in the room after we'd shot a scene. I was just looking at this painting and thinking, if I had been, when I was a little girl growing up in the 60s, 6 miles down the road in the middle of dairy country in England, in rural England, what would it have done for me as a little brown girl to have known that just 6 miles up the road in this house, which is the seat of, huge social events of the year, there was a painting of this woman who'd been Queen of England, who, as Chris said, many historians believe, was mixed race, and people at the time complained about her mulatto appearance and her thick lips and her wide nose. What would it have done for this little brown girl to have known that woman was there and that she too was part of society? So I think, this is rather long-winded, but I think for me there is an element of thinking about how integral people from across the world have been to the burgeoning society that we see in Regency England. I mean, Britain has always been a trading nation, whether it's been trading in people or goods or knowledge. It's always been a huge trading nation. And so I think for me, there's something rather lovely about being able to fold in that sort of sensibility into this story that is about love and romance and discovery and widening horizons. And I think I wanted Lady Danbury to sort of embody that aspect of confidence and moving forward and having a sense of one's self and one's worth and one's interest and one's value and one's beauty and one's dignity and all that sort of stuff. And for me, I I feel there's a sort of ramrod that goes through her. I feel she leads with her eyes. She's very sort of watchful and intuitive and knowing. And I wanted to give her a sense of fun, but also that sense of experience that makes you have a certain life wisdom, I guess.